Hey, young girl. We are back with a new episode this week. I'd like to thank everyone who has been watching, listening, sharing, and commenting on the podcast, Hey, Young Girl. It is available on YouTube. You can watch it over there, the full episode. And you can also listen on Spotify and Apple Music. All right. So this week, I want to talk about The Color Purple, y'all. I just finished watching it. Shout out to Fit with Brit for highlighting that was available on Amazon Prime. I did have to search it, so thanks for that, girl. So I wrote some notes, y'all, because it was so good. I don't know if I'm gonna remember everything. All right, so I want to just start by saying it was a beautiful, beautiful movie. I enjoyed it thoroughly. The cast was amazing. It was great that y'all used real life singers to play these roles. And I mean, let's just get into it. All right. So I just want to first off start by saying we need other women to uplift and remind us of our true beauty and worth if we can't see it for ourselves. In the movie, Celie, who was played by Fantasia, she was taught that she was ugly and she wasn't really worth anything but to cook, clean, and bear children, pretty much. And it took Suge Avery's character, which was played by Taraji P. Henson, to come in and give her a different perspective. She thought that Mr., who is the man that she married, or basically her father, sold her into and into marriage, that he was the end all be all, that she was ugly and that was her purpose, was to bear children, clean, cook, and seen and not heard, and she was just enduring this abuse. So it took for this other woman to come along, and she asked her questions that made her think. You never laughed, you never felt real love, and she responded, the only person that I loved is gone. I don't know if she's alive, or and I had children. Um, I don't know if they're alive or dead. So, and Taraji, or Suge, replied to her, "Do you feel them in your heart? Do you still feel the love that you have for them in your heart?" She said. So, lean into that, and you can still, you know, feel happiness. And I forgot what it was that she told her, and then she started laughing. I thought that was a really, really great moment. Um, Also, what's another person's trash is another person's treasure. So, saying in the movie again, um, the character, Sophia, her and her husband. Now, this man truly loved her, but he wanted to control her so much so that he went against his better judgment, listening to Celie, and went and tried to beat her. And he ended up losing Sophia, because Sophia was a strong, strong woman, and she didn't tolerate that. And she stood her ground and she left him. What's another person's trash is another person's treasure. Another point: stand for something or you'll fall for anything. Once again, Sophia's character. She, stood her ground, even though she loved Harpo. And Harpo had to build a house and all this stuff. But because Harpo put his hands on her, she stood her ground and she left. And if you saw the movie, you saw in the end, them two ended up still being together. It took some time apart. They ended up getting into different relationships, but their love still stood the test of time. And it made Harpo realize what he missed out on. Even though Sophia was a strong woman, he loved that about her. And he loved the way that she treated, and they loved together. And he changed his ways and he got his woman back. And that leads me to my next point. True love withstands all. Because even though all of those obstacles that was placed in front of them, because Harpo wouldn't have never even done that if Celie wouldn't have went and told him, "Oh, Beta, I don't understand why, she won't listen to me. And, like like you listen to Mister. Well, Celie turned around and told the man to beat her. So when Sophia asked her, which I thought was a great moment as well, and Fantasia or Celie said to her that she was jealous. She was jealous of her strength, and that's why she told that man to beat her. Crazy, huh? Because she was jealous. But at least she was woman enough to admit where she was wrong at. All right. And my next point, hope and faith, how it can give you the courage to keep going. So once, Suge had told Celie, about still feeling inside of you that you can feel your children and you feel the love that you and Nettie experienced together. So, you can still be happy with just knowing that the hope of them still being alive and keeping the faith that y'all will reconcile one day. And that gave her the courage to keep going. And then leads me to my next point. God is good all the time, even though you may not understand your trials as you're going through them. All of those obstacles and trials that Celie went through, all of them went through. In the end, they all ended up still being happy and in love and together as a family. So even though you don't understand that the trials and tribulations that you're going through in the moment, try to hold on and have faith and believe that a good is going to turn out of all of this pain that you may be experiencing. Another great point, I loved how to use music and laughter. It's good for the soul and the body. You notice how in the movie all of the singing and the dancing, it brought joy to them. Even though they were experiencing pain, when they turned that music on and they started to dance around with each other, even in that little small moment, even if it was temporary, it brought joy to their lives. So just saying that music, y'all, it can soothe your soul. And laughter. Don't forget to have fun. Okay, laugh a little bit. Don't take yourself too serious. Have some fun. Another point. True beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Okay? All of that, talking down about Celie being ugly and she ain't good for this and none of that. In the end, Mr. had then repented and then he started to see the true beauty that was in Celie, and Celie saw it for herself. And she said, I am beautiful. That was a beautiful point. And I'm glad they allowed us to share that. Even though everybody told this woman that she was ugly, in the end, once she found her true beauty, nobody couldn't tell her that. It's in the eye of the beholder, baby. If you say you beautiful, you beautiful. Okay? And this was a good point. Also, sometimes your spirit can be broken, but you can find your voice and make your way back again. Y'all saw how they broke down Sophia. Everybody was saying, how she was too strong and she couldn't be controlled and she was the wild one, and even Mr. said some women that just ain't to be tamed. And nothing's wrong with that. Why do you feel like you have to have a control over somebody for you to love them? Why you can't just allow that person to be who they are and love them just the way that they are? And that woman come along, y'all see how long of a way that we have come. How it took that woman, that white woman in the film back in the day, because she told her no, and the repercussions of that. Buster just ran off, with the children, I guess in the instance of that he just wanted to keep the children safe. But where was Sophia's help? They beat her down and made her stay 6 years in prison. And who was that one for her? Celie. Celie showed up for her, even though she told Harper to beat her. She forgave her, and that's still Celie. This broke down woman was able to give Sophia hope again because she didn't turn her back on her. She showed up there every week and said that she was going to be there for her. And when she came out of jail, that woman was broken down, shoulders shrugged. She didn't even want to speak. And Sophia was the main one speaking You ain't going to stop me from doing this. I'm going to be my own woman and this and that. But they had then broke that woman's spirit. But her family, was there for her when she got out, embraced her, and still showed her the love that was there. And even at the dinner table, when Suge stood up for and said, "No, we taking Celie with us." And what happened, y'all? Sophia, I forget what it was that Celie said, and it made Sophia laugh so loud, and what she was broken, baby. They had that woman muzzled to where she didn't even want to speak. But by Celie standing her ground in that moment and saying, "No, I'm leaving. I'm going. You're not going to stop me." Sophia found her voice again, and she got her spirit back. And she said, "Oh yeah, Sophia's back, baby." Just in that moment. So good, so good. Also, don't let fear cripple you. For so long, Celie was scared. She was scared to find her voice. And the more and more she found others around her that was fearless and strong and encouraged her, she found her voice and didn't let fear stop her when she finally got that strength. And she walked away and she said, "Until you do right by me, everything that you attempt to have in your life is going to crumble." And as y'all saw, Mr. wasn't able to grow no crops. He was drunk, falling all out. His son had then, went away from him. The whole time he was trying to break the son down, told him, the juke joint ain't going to be no good. Why would you build the house on the swamp? But what the son did, stood his ground. He even told him, "Don't marry Sophia." He wasn't going to accept her into the family, even a grandfather. And he went and married her anyway. Still built his house on the swamp anyway. And when she left him, he turned that into a business. Oh, he could have stayed down, you know, but he turned that into a growing, prosperous business that was able for this man to create a whole family. And as y'all saw in the end, he was able to take care of the children that Sophia went and made with somebody else. And they were reconciled, and he was able to take care of them all off of his idea of becoming a businessman and creating this juke joint. Awesome. Oh, and this was a great one here. The truth shall set you free. All that time, Celie thought that was her own father that was doing that to her, that had then gave her two babies, that ran her sister off, sold her off into marriage, was mean and hateful to her. Come to find out, that man wasn't even her father. Her mother died and didn't tell her that this man wasn't even her real father. And in the end, she ended up being the owner of the land, the store, all of that. Also, another truth, when she told her that she was jealous, Sophia, she was jealous of her strength. That took courage on Celie's part to go ahead and say that she was jealous of her. And that was the reason why, so that truth, I feel like it set that woman free. Y'all saw how she wept when she found out. All that whole time she thought God wasn't with her, and why is all this stuff happening to her? Well, the truth was, all of it was a lie. Oh, another great point. Even though she didn't have a choice in who she married, try to be wise in who you marry. I just saw recently where they were saying, a lot of us would get with people because, y'all have stuff in common and things like that, superficial stuff. But in truth, you should be looking at, do you and this person have the same beliefs? Do y'all have the same values, such as, religious belief? Do you believe in God? Do they believe in God? That's something important. If y'all are on two different pages in that may not end up working. Are you a saver? Are they a spender? Big stuff like that. Do you want to live in a big house, a small house? I mean, I guess that could be superficial too, but, Are y'all aligning in those things that are deeply important to you? Do you want kids? Do they want kids? Stuff like that. Another great point. Teach your children how to be sustainable. Teach them a sustainable, a trade that can help them survive and be self-sufficient. Y'all noticed in the movie at the time when she was a young girl, her mother taught her how to sew. And at the time she didn't think nothing of it. But as a grown woman, she was able to take that sewing talent that she have, and she created an entire business off of it. So y'all, sometimes parents try to keep their kids, hooked on them and relying on them for everything. Well, how would that help them when they become an adult? If they don't learn how to do basic things like take care of themselves, cook, clean, keep a roof over their head, how to make money, legally, to be able to be self-sufficient in life. Okay? Don't handicap your kids. Don't pass on hurt if you can help it. Okay? The grandfather, had this do it my way or the highway. Passed that on to Mr., which Mr. passed it on to Celie, and then Celie tried to pass it on to Sophia or Harpo. You see, and how it kept going like that until somebody finally said, stop. Somebody said, no, this ain't gonna fly for me. And then some changes had to be made if they wanted to continue in their life. Another point, love people the way that they are. Don't try to change them. Okay? Y'all saw how Sophia was happy, go lucky. Even though that woman had trials and tribulations of her own, you saw the scene where she said, all my life I had to fight. I had to fight my mom. I had to fight my dad. I had to fight my cousins, everybody. But that woman still had joy. And then till they tried to beat it out of her, force her to change. And then you saw her light dwindle and it started to go out. Love the people that the way they are, y'all. If you can't accept them the way that they are, leave them people alone. And then this was another great point. Let God fight your battles. Y'all saw that? Celie endured all that pain. And in the end, she was joyous and triumphant. And then what she had to do, she ain't had to lift a finger, didn't have to seek revenge. She kept her faith and hope and steadfast. She did what she was doing, thought what she had to do to survive. In the end, she prospered, y'all. Let God fight your battle. This was another good point. I think I already talked on it about Harpo and his father. Because you may not have the support or the people around you that love you. His father didn't support him. Don't mean your idea was not a good one. He had the idea of he wanted to marry this woman. And what was the first thing that they said? Oh, she too big. Oh, she too smart by the mouth. All of this here. Then his idea of building a house on the swamp with the land that the grandfather left him. He had the idea of wanting to do the juke joint. Here go to daddy again. That ain't no good idea. You need to do it like this. So, in other words, protect your ideas. Sometimes you don't need to share them with everybody. In that instance, even though he still, he didn't get that support from the dad, he still married Sophia. He still built the house on the swamp, and he still opened his juke joint. And that man became very successful. In fact, he was able to, take care of Sophia's children she had made when they were separated. And they lived a very prosperous life off of his juke joint. And he probably had people that came through there that was singers and everything like that, gave other people opportunities off of his idea. So stay strong. And even though you may not have that support from your family, still try to do your thing anyway, okay? And then at the end, y'all, we just saw where it's never too late to repent and start over in life. You saw Mr. That man was just as mean, hateful. He was abusive. And all in the end, it took those words from Celie to say, until you do right by me, everything that you touch is not going to prosper. His crops didn't grow. He had beetles all in the soil. He even tried to burn the land. He still couldn't produce anything. His son turned away from him. All of that negative energy he kept giving his son, wouldn't support him, wouldn't accept his wife, wouldn't help him build a house, and all of that, all the lies that he told kept Nettie away. And in the end, what did he do? He fell into that barren soil. He cried out to God and he said he was sorry and that he was going to change his ways. And then he started making the effort to make those changes. He sold some of his land to be able to get Nettie and her family back into the U.S. He went and tried to support not Sophia, Sealy's store. And he even tried to reconcile with Sealy, and she stood her ground and set them boundaries still then. No, we're going to be friends. And he still went ahead and bought the ugliest pair of pants up in there. He willing to humiliate himself just to show that he was going to support. And then he didn't try to, push himself onto Sealy. He just kept on doing what he was doing, trying to right his wrongs. And then gradually that man was able to turn his life around, was a drunk slop, wasn't, producing nothing, had lost all his family. And in the end, he was able to reconcile with his family and gave her the biggest gift that she could ever get, which was to get her sister and her own children back into the United States, y'all. So it don't matter all of the dirt or whatever you did in your life. You can still repent, ask for forgiveness, and start your life again. Y'all, it was a great movie, and if you haven't seen it, it is still in the movies and in the theaters, or you can watch it on Amazon Prime. You can rent it for $19.99 or buy it for $24.99. And you know, y'all could just go watch it, and I'll see y'all next week. Bye.